The spiritual history of mankind during the last 5,000 years is the subject of the evening. Actually, the spiritual history follows the spiritual evolution of the human beings. History is the surface value of something that is going on in the human beings. It is a statistical record of results, the causes of which are there in the human being, and the causes depend upon the stage of evolution of the human being. And the story of evolution on this earth belongs to a very, very ancient date, whereas the date of the so-called biological evolution belongs to the date of Charles Darwin and his followers. But the concept of biological evolution is only a piecemeal record of the real evolution. There are many questions and many problems which the theory of biological evolution cannot solve, whereas the real theory of evolution, which is age-old, which belongs to the ancient nations and which can be gathered from the scriptures of all nations, which has been systematized during many centuries on many occasions, the latest of which has been systematized by the present theosophical movement. By the word theosophical movement, I do not mean the Theosophical Society or any one organization that is there in the 19th or the 20th centuries, but I mean all the standard spiritual bodies. For example, the Theosophical Society, the United Lodge of Theosophists, the organization of Alice A. Bailey, and the various ritualistic orders of the day, and many philosophical institutions and theosophical institutions in general. All these institutions put together form groups or parts of one big organization which is going on since the ending of the previous century, gaining momentum in gathering all the information of the scriptures of the ancient nations and once again systematizing the knowledge so that the human being of the rationalistic age can understand it easily. This is what I mean by saying the theosophical movement. That is, the spiritual organizations that are not imprisoned by any religious organization. That is what I mean. And there has been much move and there has been much stir in the understanding of the term evolution after the theosophical activity began during these 2 centuries. Necessarily, the word evolution has 2 different magnitudes of meanings in 2 different fields today. To the biology student and professor, the word means something. To the student of spiritualism, it means some other thing. The concept of evolution, according to the biology professor and student, is very, very narrow, having many missing links which cannot be answered, and it starts from the unicellular organisms like amoeba, euglena and chlamydomonas, and it runs up to the stage of the human evolution, and beyond this stage of evolution It has nothing to present us except a very ugly picture of the future human being. For example, it was described that the future human being will have a big head with all the other parts of the body suppressed into the head, because he doesn't need to use the mechanical organs of the body. His intellect will be developed in such a way that he has the technological and the scientific development enough to have everything at his beck and call, and the use of his organs will not be there, and according to the biological theory of use and disuse of organs, all the other organs will be suppressed and the head will develop into a bigger size. Except this very ugly picture of the future human being, the present biological science has nothing to present to us as a hope of humanity. So, by the word evolution, we are compelled to use it only in the spiritual sense and not the biological sense. The difference is that in the biological science, evolution is meant as the evolution of matter and form, whereas in spiritualism we are made to understand that matter has no evolution. It is to be handled by an intelligence who is governing matter. For example, we are existing in this physical body. We have to handle this body, otherwise the body has no significance or use at all. And the use or misuse of this body never depends upon the quality of the matter of this body. It depends upon the indweller of the body, the person who is living in the body. And evolution is something which belongs to the indweller, not the matter. And just as the maintenance of this hall depends upon the person who manages this hall and not the quality of the walls or the brick or the mortar. Similarly, the evolution is something which belongs to the indweller of this body, and here the present biology has nothing to give us. And it is the spiritual science that gives us the idea of true evolution. And therefore, the spiritual science is important, and the one who follows the spiritual science, who is a real student of spiritual science, can make a good use of any science existing. And when one is a master of any other science except spiritual science, can make a use or misuse of any science he knows. And real education never exists in the knowledge of any science except spiritual science. Because whether man uses his scientific knowledge for destruction or construction depends upon his own disposition and personal training, which is part of the spiritual science. And one who is not a real student of spiritual science cannot have a mastery over the knowledge in various branches. And hence the spiritual history of humanity is very important. And the spiritual evolution of humanity is more important, because the history is only a catalogue of incidents, a chronological study of facts, which is not independent. It has its causes in the behavior of the human being, and the history, the spiritual history of humanity has its causes in the spiritual evolution of humanity. So the subject for today's evening, that is the history of the spiritualism of humanity, has its true causes in the evolution of spiritual science through the past 5,000 years. I don't exactly understand why 5,000 years is taken, but I take it for granted. There is a great event 5,000 years ago which is marked as a milestone of human evolution. It is the beginning of one of the bigger cycles of time which marks the geological and the human cycle. The earth has its own cycles which can be called geological cycles, and there are sub-cycles in the geological cycles which belong to the real history of the mineral kingdom of this earth, and they have their sub-cycles which have to do with the plant kingdom of this earth, and they have sub-cycles which have much to do with the animal kingdom and its evolution on this earth. And still there are sub-cycles which have much to do with the evolution of the human kingdom on this earth. And the sub-cycles that deal with the human kingdom, they are generally called the zodiacal cycles, the astrological cycles, which are marked by the precession of the equinoxes through the 12 signs of the zodiac. For example, when the equinox was passing through the constellation of Aries, it was called the age of Aries or the Aryan age. When might was right, might, when physical and mental ability was the criterion, heroism and warlike nature was the deciding factor. And then after 5,000 years, there was the age which was called the Piscean age, the age of fishes, where there was the development of intellect, replacement of physical ability by intellectual ability, and replacement of crude weapons by finer and more destructive weapons, and replacement of armies on land by the ships in the ocean, and international supremacy was decided in the Piscean age by the naval strength of any country and nation. And the age passed away, and now we have entered into an age called the space age, which is called the Aquarian age. And the age of naval supremacy and ocean supremacy is over. The supremacy of air has taken its place, and the aeroplane has occupied the place of the weapon, and it is also fading. Radioactive energy has replaced the other things, and whether destruction or construction has taken a more effective and significant turn. These are examples of the sub-cycles of the human kingdom, but they are minor cycles, whereas there are the bigger cycles. For example, this is one unit of the bigger cycle. So many Earth, human, lunar years is considered to be one unit of the mineral, biological and the human cycles. In the scriptures it is called Kali or the unit. The word Kali means a unit. It is called Kali Yuga. Yuga means age. It is called Kali age. And we are now in this age, and it is 5,000 years ago this age started. I think this is the reason why today I am asked to speak about the spiritual history of humanity during the past 5,000 years. I think it may be the cause. Of course, about these cycles, we can speak some other day because it is not the main subject of this evening. Anyhow, to those students who are regularly attending the morning classes of Pythagoras teachings, I will devote one full class for these cycles, go into a deeper detail of it, because Pythagoras was a past master of the study of these cycles. But in the general conferences, it is a big headache to go into the details of such things. In a class, we can go into a detail, but not in a conference. So I just leave it here that we are living in the Kali Yuga or Kali age, which has its magnitude of so many human lunar earth years. Remember that they are not the calendar years according to our Gregorian calendar. We will go wrong if we calculate them according to the calendar. We have to make a calculation only in the scale of the lunar years. A lunar year means 1 unit of 12 new moons and 12 full moons. This cycle put together is called one lunar year. And so many lunar years is one Kali Yuga. And 5,000 years ago we entered into that Yuga. It is generally described in the scriptures that we are in an age of reasoning, rationalism, understanding. Previously, instead of reasoning, we had what was called belief as the motivation force of human activity. One believed the other. One person believed another and they could live. Now, one person should reason out the reasoning power of the other, and the possibility of peaceful coexistence is less. And instead of rationalism, there was what was called faith. That is, in the goodness of humanity, people used to believe. And after this Kali age has started, it is difficult to have faith upon the goodness of humanity, because everyone knows himself how good he is and he can have only that much of faith about others. So the possibility of peaceful coexistence is therefore less. And instead of understanding, there was what was called devotion. Devotion was the motive force of achievement in the past ages. Now understanding is the only motive force that the human fellow has. This is what is given in the scriptures about the present age. And the mutual relationship between two persons, two groups, two countries and two nations is described as utility, that is a commercial relationship. I will try to be useful to you because I want your help. This is the human relationship in the present age. Whereas in the previous age, it was mutuality. And also another aspect, remuneration and labor are decided in the order given. The remuneration is first decided for what we have to do, whereas in the past ages it was in the reverse order. Labor is contributed by 10 people and remuneration belonged to the group and not the individual. It was called sacrifice, whereas this is called remuneration. This is another difference between the past ages and the present age. These are a few points described in the scriptures about the Kali age. And we have the concept of greatness as one of the motive forces, whereas in the previous ages It was the concept of goodness and not greatness. And at the present age, we have something valuable which we consider as the motive force. In the ancient age, one thought about something useful. He never cared whether something was valuable or not. Like that, there are many things described about the present Kali age. And analysis is the keynote of the present age, whereas synthesis was the keynote of the previous ages. And finally it is said there will be an essential disintegration of human society into groups, little and little. And bigger nations and countries will exist no more, and people are forced to go into little self-sufficient administrative units. That is a thorough rearrangement of the human society, which is necessitated and compulsory and not voluntary. And the result is wars and destructions become more and more frequent. This is what is given about the Kali age in the scriptures. We need not think that it is a bad age. In the same scriptures it is also said that it is a challenge of human virtues. It is a call forth of the essential goodness of the human being. It is an inevitable application of the goodness of the human heart. And the spiritual progress of the human being will be more speedy than in the previous ages. And any little spiritual movement will have its maximum utility and value during this age, because the smallest candle gives its maximum light in a darkest room, whereas when there is sunlight, even a light of 10,000 candle power cannot be a light. This is also given in the same scriptures. And finally it is said, any individual can think of the one man living in all the human beings of this earth, can understand the one human being having so many millions of human bodies, and that individual goes into meditation very easily, whereas in the past ages one had to conduct austerities and meditations, and he has to retire into the forests and observe great practices for prolonged periods of time. For the better results, an easy meditation is enough for the present. One who follows the path of devotion can neutralize the effects of the Kali Yuga around himself, and he can influence the environment in a positive way to his maximum ability, which was not at all possible in the past ages. This is also given in the same scriptures about this age. So we are living in a very, very peculiarly important age since the past 5,000 years and more. And astronomically speaking, there was a major planetary conjunction of all the planets on the occasion of a new moon in the beginning of this age. That was the beginning of the present Kali age, and just a few years before that conjunction there was an international war which was called the Mahabharata War. And after the Mahabharata War, 33 years passed, and then this age started. This is about the astronomical evidences of this age, which you can find in the contemporary writing of a great epic which is called the Mahabharata, and you will find the same evidences given in English with good discussions so that we may understand them easily in a great book called The Secret Doctrine, written by Madame Blavatsky under the heading The Zodiac and its Antiquity. Of course, afterwards we find it in many books. But she was the first person who introduced the topic in the English, among the English reading public. So, when we make a study of these 5,000 years, we have to begin our study with the Mahabharata war, which began with a great initiation called the Bhagavad Gita. So, we have to start the history of spiritual evolution with the Bhagavad Gita. So let us start with it and try to trace the spiritual history of humanity till now. The Bhagavad Gita started with a question: is war desirable or undesirable? The fellow who was expected to fight in the war, he went into the midst of the squadrons of armies